This is episode 17 of Baba Yaga's Magic, Rahman Easter. Late in spring, a person crouches at the edge of a river and slowly drops eggshells into the water. What are they doing? Are they feeding the fish? Are they throwing away the leftovers of their lunch? Are they adding calcium to the water supply? Well, if they're in Ukraine or Belarus, what you might be witnessing is a part of the ritual of Rahman Easter, a ritual that is nowadays it's associated with the Christian holiday, but it goes back to ancient times. What are they doing and who are the mysterious Rahman? In this episode, I'll be telling you about this ancient tradition and all the magic associated with it. Save those springtime eggshells and let's make some magic. Before we dive in though, I have a question for you. Would you like to win a free spell kit by me, Madam Pamita? Every month we give away a different beeswax candle spell kit to one lucky winner. These candle spell kits include everything you need to cast a beautiful candle spell. You get a beeswax figural candle, spiritual oil, herbs, complete step-by-step instructions, and more. No purchase is required, and anyone, anywhere in the world can enter to win this gorgeous beeswax candle spell kit. All you need to do is be over 18 years old. Simply go to magicgiveaway.com and enter your email to be entered in the contest. So we're going to be talking about Rahman Easter today. To get you in the mood for Rahman Easter, I'm going to read an excerpt from chapter 13 of Baba Yaga's book of Witchcraft. So here we go. And with that, Baba Yaga reached into her bag and began to pull out eggs one by one, small and large, but all a glossy, rich red color. She picked up one, wrapped it against the table, and began to peel the shell off its hard-boiled interior. She carefully placed the shells in a little bowl and began to eat the egg as Vasilina watched. "Go ahead, girl, eat," said Baba Yaga. Vasilina sat at the table and picked up one of the boiled eggs, feeling the warmth of it in her hands. Like Baba Yaga, she placed the shells in the bowl as she peeled hers, and when she bit into the soft yellow yolk, she felt a surge of power within her, as bright and glowing as the dazzling summer sun. With each mouthful, she savored the gentle heat of the egg as it slid down into her belly. When they had both had their fill, Baba Yaga scooped up the remaining eggshells that had fallen onto the table into the bowl and placed the remaining eggs on top. She put on her warm, shaggy coat and picked up the bowl and her walking stick. She stopped and stared at Vasilina. "Put on your shawl, girl. We don't have all night." Vasilina wrapped herself up and followed Baba Yaga out the door. As they went out the bone gate, past the bone fence, and down a path through the forest, as they stepped out under the bright moonlight, they made their way down the path until they came to a small clearing with a circle of aspen trees. Vasilina stood shyly at the edge of the grove while Baba Yaga went in and laid the eggs at the base of the trees, whispering something under her breath as she did. She quickly turned and continued walking, and Vasilina scampered to keep up, following her through the grove and down the path until they reached a small stream. Here, Baba Yaga knelt by the stream and whispered to the eggshells as she placed a handful in the water. Vasilina watched as they dipped below the surface and tumbled into the flowing water like tiny pieces of rare red coral glistening in the moonlight. What I am describing in this passage is the ritual of Rahman Easter. So let me tell you what Rahman Easter is. Rahman Easter is also called Rahmansky Velikden. Velikden is Easter. So Rahman Easter They have different names, different pronunciations, depending on where you are. But it's a traditional holiday celebrated in parts of Ukraine and Belarus, and it has pre-Christian roots. This holiday of Rahman Easter always falls on the 25th day after Easter Sunday. In the Christian calendar, this holiday is called Prepolovenye. It means like in the middle or half, and it's halfway between Easter and Green Week. Another name for it can be Right Wednesday or Dry Wednesday because it always lands on a Wednesday, and it always falls on the fourth Wednesday after Easter. So what is this special holiday, Rahman Easter, and what does Rahman mean? Well, there's a legend and a belief about a land far away, a paradise that is warm and lush, where everyone's needs are met and they can focus their attention on the spiritual. These people are the Rahmans, the Rahmani, sometimes they're called. Rahmans are pious and blessed people. In fact, sometimes they are called the blazheni, the blessed ones. The word Rahman has several meanings. It can mean dweller of paradise or righteous people or elders. When it's used as an adjective, it means peaceful or gentle. It is and was believed that the Rahmani are distant ancestors who passed away so long ago that they are in a state of righteousness. These ancestors are often used as an example of righteousness, and there's a proverb that translates to, let us fast like the Rahmani. That is, let us be really benevolent and really noble when we do our fasting, not complaining about not having the food that we want and so on. So the Rahmani spend their life in a special state of consciousness. And really what they live in is a timeless space. They live in their own different world where time doesn't exist. In numerous legends, there's stories about the Rahmani and Rahmani Easter. Some say that Rahmans live in a distant country, in an island, in a far southern or far eastern country where it is always warm. Others say they live in Virya or paradise, and still others say that they live deep underground in a subterranean paradise realm. Wherever they live, it's said that they pray for the people of our world. And some say that the Rahmans pray around the clock, 24/7, eat the fruits of the earth, and drink sweet water flowing from under the root of a special tree. It's also said that they don't have iron utensils, they don't have knives, they don't have gold or silver, they don't even have clothes or houses. Instead, they live in caves. They don't need fire or know about fire, and they don't grow grapes, meaning they don't make wine. Marriage among the Rahmans exists only until they have their second child in the family, and after which the man and the woman live in celibacy. Some say that they're very small people, which is very interesting because this is often a descriptor for the spirits that are ancestor spirits. So when we think about them as ancestors, that idea that they're small people will often show up as well. It's said that Rahmans live between 100 to 860 years and can live as long as 1,800 years, 1,800 years. The Rahmans, know the time of their own death, and they die without disease or fear. They just expire. It is said that they have angels around them that tell them about the people of our world, and in particular, they tell them how long we are destined to live. The Rahmani have religious fasts, and during fasting, they don't eat the fruit, but instead receive heavenly manna. Manna from heaven means, it's a biblical term, but it means something which is given easily and without effort. You receive it, it's a gift, and you don't have to work for it or grow it or do anything for it. The Rahmans have no sense of time because they live in a timeless place and a timeless space. Now, however, they do receive this manna, and that orients them to time because they receive it once a year. Therefore, for them to know when the new year has begun, And in this case, we think about Easter, which is the closest big holiday to the older pagan New Year, which was celebrated around the spring equinox. So when the new year has begun for people here in our realm, us, place eggshells into the rivers. Now, in some regions, these shells are from krashanki, that the eggs that are dyed a single color that are eaten at Easter, or eggs that were used in making the Easter meal. When those shells are released into the river, they say, swim, swim to the Rahman lands, and announce that Easter is here. The people drop the eggshells into the water with the belief that in 25 days, 3.5 weeks time, these shells will float to the other world and will become a complete egg, and will let the Ramani know that the new year or Easter has arrived in this world. And in this way, they can tell what time it is. The manna from heaven are the eggs, the eggshells that turn back into eggs that people drop into the rivers on Easter. It's also believed that each of these eggshells reforms into a complete hard-boiled egg, and each egg is enough for 12 or sometimes 20 Ramani to survive on for an entire year. In his work, Traditions and Customs of the Ukrainian People, ethnographer Oleksa Voropai believes that the Rahman Easter is a remnant of the pre-Christian beliefs of the Ukrainians. Legends about the Ramans, as they are known only in Ukraine, are more than 1,000 years old. And as late as the beginning of the 20th century, this holiday was quite widespread and celebrated all over Ukraine and in parts of Belarus. Its descriptions were collected in the Carpathians, in Podillia, in Lviv, in Kiev and Poltava, in Cherkasy and Kherson. Traditions recorded in different regions interpret it differently who the Ramans are and where they live. The ideas of the people that live in the central regions of Ukraine were that our world is divided into 3 parts: heaven, earth that we live on, and an underground kingdom that is like an underground paradise. Deep under the earth, as if in paradise, live these beautiful and gentle people. They don't know the time, and therefore people must inform them about the arrival of the holiday of Easter or the holiday of spring equinox, which is the beginning of the year, by throwing eggshells into the rivers, and it floats to them. In the Carpathian Mountains, they tell it a little differently. The Hutsul people in the Carpathian Mountains report that the Ramans are monks. They're righteous people who are Christians, and they live far in the east in a monastery where they lead a devout life. The Hutsul people believe that they're indebted to them because they atone for our sins, the earthly people's sins. They fast the whole year and are humbled only by the fact that on Easter, they divide amongst themselves 1 egg for 12 of them, which the egg is transported to them over the water. For Hutsuls, the Ramani are their kindred spirits, their kindred relatives, and that's why older people in Hutsul communities will keep a fast until Rahman Easter. Even after Easter, they continue fasting. Now, when we think about the Rahman and the Ramani, there's a fascinating thread found in that name. In the Ukrainian language, Ramani, and in the Belarusian language, Ramani, have the same meaning. It means calm and gentle, quiet. You can use it to mean someone who's timid and shy, someone who's obedient, someone or a situation who's very tame, very home-loving people. And there are 2 forms of the words in Belarusian language, Ramani and Rokmani. In Ukrainian, it also is Ramani and Romani. Does Romani sound familiar? It might, because the Romani are the traditional nomadic Indo-Aryan ethnic group that live in Europe and Anatolia and have diaspora populations all around the world. The Romani began to leave India about 1,000 years ago, and most likely left to escape the invasion of the Afghan general Mahmud of Ghazni. And this was early in the 11th century. So this Mahmud's troops probably pushed the Romani out of northern India and into the area that is now Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran, and from there, the diaspora spread all over the world. There's also strong evidence that the name Rahman comes from the Indian word Brahmin. Brahmins are the priestly class in traditional Indian society, and they served as priests, Purohit, Pandit, or Pujari, and spiritual teachers, Guru or Acharya. The term Brahmin in Indian texts signifies someone who's good and virtuous, not just someone who's of this priestly class, but someone who has committed to a life of renunciation for spiritual pursuits. Brahmins were the social class from which most ascetics came. What's an ascetic? It's someone who denies themselves sensual pleasures, often for the purpose of pursuing spiritual goals. So because of these linguistic clues, there are currently several theories as to who these mythical Ramans could be. They might very well be the Aryan diaspora from India or the social caste of Brahmin priests. Ukrainian folklore preserves the memory of the fact that the Ramans live in the east. They live near the sea in a warm paradise and they prayed and fasted. This really overlaps with what we know about both Romani and the Brahmin caste. With the advent of Christianity, the definition of the Romani or the Roman became adapted to fit with the Christian ideals, but we can definitely see that these origin stories have ancient roots. Of course, with many pagan traditions that could not be wiped out by Christianity, this legend was converted to blend with Christianity. There's a story called Zosim's Walk to the Ramans that comes from the 14th century. Now, the Ramans are not mentioned in the original story of the 14th century, but in subsequent stories and versions of it, they were added. And in the story, it tells that Zosim did not eat for 40 days and asked God to show him the land of the blessed ones, the Blajani or the Ramani. God fulfilled his wish. A camel carried Zosim through the desert, and then the wind brought him to the river by which the Romani lived. Zosim crossed the river with trees bent over the bank and spent 7 days on the Raman land. Zosim explained his concern for other peoples in prayers with the words, "We are from your family." The story of the Romani creates a fascinating connection between these two ancient cultures. So now in a minute, I'm going to tell you how some people still celebrate the actual day of Roman Easter. But before I do that, let me share with you a way you can learn more about Slavic traditions. I am teaching workshops all throughout this year through Catland Books on the last Wednesday of each month. I'll be teaching Slavic magic workshops throughout 2023, and people of all spiritual paths and ancestry are welcome, and no magical experience is necessary. We're going to be covering some amazing topics this year. We've got Pesanki, which is talismanic egg magic, perfect for this episode. We're going to be talking about the old Slavic spirits, Slavic crossroads magic, Slavic wax pouring, and so much more. So if you would like more information about these workshops and reserve your spot, you can do one of two things. You can go to witchcraftworkshops.com. It'll list all my workshops, including my Catland workshops, or you can go to catlandbooks.com and register today. So let's talk about Roman Easter, how people celebrate it, and how you can celebrate it. To go back to the most traditional meaning of this holiday, it's a chance to connect to one's ancestors. And when you think about the rite of dropping the shell from Easter eggs into the river that flows to the sea, it's considered a beautiful exchange of information with the spirits of your ancestors. It's like a gift for your beloved ancestors or these special spirits who are thinking and praying for you. So what about this holiday of Rahman Easter? What happens? So people on Easter drop the eggs in the water, but 25 days later is Rahman Easter, right? It's celebrated also. So when celebrated in a Christian context, I'll share with you one version of the celebration. This is the Rahman Easter celebrated by the Hutzels who are in the Carpathian Mountains. On the fourth Wednesday after Easter holidays, the Hutzels celebrate Romansky Easter. On that day, they don't go to church, but at home, as a sign of the holiday, they do not do any work. The whole day, they fast. And then after sunset, when the evening star appears in the sky, the entire family goes to the house. The mother gives the father one boiled egg and puts one pasca. Pasca is like a sweet Easter bread on the table. This bread is usually made around Eastertide and saved until then. Holding the egg in his hand, the father stands in the middle of the house and says, "Come, children, let's all share this egg today." To these words, someone from the household responds, "But how can we all share one egg?" And then the father says, "Oh, if we can feed 12 Brahmins with one egg this Easter, then it would be certain that we can share one too." And having said that, he carefully knocks off the shell from his egg and puts it on the table. And he divides the egg up into pieces, as many pieces as there are people in the house, plus one more. He gives everybody a piece, giving the smallest child the remaining extra piece. Now, for those who see the land of the Rahman as an underworld paradise, they climb the mountain and put their ears to the ground to listen for the Rahman's Easter bells. According to this old custom, the Hutzels celebrate Easter twice. First on traditional Easter, and then 25 days later, after Easter, is the Rahman Easter. And on this day, it is believed that you can hear the music of the Rahman Easter in the mountains. So you climb up to the peaks and put your ear to a ground or ear to a stone and listen to see if you can hear it. It's also a little test because they say not everyone can hear the Rahman bells. If you are a big evildoer, a big sinner, you will not hear the Rahman Easter bells. So it's a good test to see if you're a good person. One of the Hutzel legends warns that the end of the world will come when not a single pesanki or Easter egg is painted, and when the shells are not put in the water, and the Brahmins do not learn about the holiday and they do not mark the time, and the Carpathian people do not hear the underground bells. So that's why this is such an important holiday. It really extends that belief that we're going to keep goodness in the world. Now, in another older tradition, before Christianity, the writer Natalia Koschuk says that on this holiday, adults go to the streams and girls and boys jump over water and fire. This is very traditional for these holidays. It's a cleansing ritual to jump over a fire or to bathe in the water. These are ancient happy holidays showing the unity of humanity with the spirit realm and with nature. All right, so what can you do? Well, you can make special red krashanki by boiling eggs and dyeing them by placing them in water with the skins of yellow onions. The recipe for this, if you want to know how to make krashanki, is in Baba Yaga's book of Witchcraft. Eat these eggs around the spring holidays. You can eat them on Easter, or you can eat them at spring equinox, or on the first warm day when the flowers begin to pop up, wherever you want to start to mark the beginning of the year. Save the shells of your eggs after you eat them, and then go to a moving river, a running river or a stream, and drop them in the water. You can say some special words of love and gratitude to these peaceful spirits, and it will carry that to that spirit realm. Then, 25 days later, go for a hike. Find a large stone that you can rest your head on and listen to see if you can hear the bells of the Rahman people. Well, that about does it for this episode of Baba Yaga's Magic. If you would like to get even more information about Slavic magic, then check out the Learn page over at the Parlor of Wonders, where you will find tons of resources, including workshops, blog articles, past podcast episodes, and the way to join me live over Zoom for the Magic Q&A Tea Party. It takes place every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. Just go to parlorwonders.com and click on the Learn tab to see all the goodies there. I want to say thank you to all the Spell Squad members out there who have subscribed to and shared this podcast with your friends. Thank you to the fabulous folks who have left reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Those reviews are so helpful, and I'm really appreciative that you take the time to do them. Thank you to Gilles Navarre for production and engineering, and thank you to you for joining me. I'm looking forward to next episode when we'll be learning about Green Week. So until next time, this is Madam Pamita and Baba Yaga saying Zamahiyu to magic, and may all your stories have the happiest fairy tale endings.